of Galaxy Digital. Michael, welcome.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
So tell us about yourself. Tell us about your company. I think everybody would love to know all about Galaxy Digital.
Well, I used to think I was the oldest man in crypto, but I think we're the same age. And so the two Mikes can share that title. Listen, I started investing in Bitcoin in 2013 when it was $95. And I either was smart enough or made the mistake of talking about it at an investor conference. And the next day I was on the cover of the FT. The only time I was on the cover of the FT, predicting that Bitcoin would go to 1,000, and luckily it did. And so I kind of got sucked into the space of kind of unofficial, or one of the unofficial spokesmen, which has now been an 8-year and fascinating journey. And so I've kind of seen Bitcoin evolve from this fringe asset, wonderfully crafted, built around a small community of cypherpunks and libertarians and people that really didn't trust the center, to now 8 years later, being known by over 120 million people around the world. It's the largest distributed asset. And that's something that's really important to think about. What gives Bitcoin its worth isn't the spectacular code that Satoshi created, right? The code is pretty spectacular, but if we took the code and we called it U Owen coin or Mike Novogratz coin and created a fork, it wouldn't be worth that much. Sorry, you. What gives it its worth is the social construct. It's got worth because people say it has worth. And so that really comes from community, right? It comes from a community, a network. And what's so interesting is I've seen over this 8 years, networks continue to grow and grow. This 2-day seminar that you're putting on is amazing because it's introducing Bitcoin to a whole new network, right? This corporate CFOs, corporate treasury network, and why they should care about this. We've got insurance companies that are caring about it. We've got hedge funds that are caring about it. But we have Mike Novogratz's and Michael Saylor's in every village of the world telling this story, this very important story that there's this new technology where you can store your wealth. It wouldn't be an important story if we didn't have central banks and Ministry of Finances and Treasury departments printing money, at a reckless rate. And so, but it is. And so, you guys like Wences Casares, who's one of the fathers of this, one of the best storytellers, it hit him so much because he came from Argentina and his partner came from Venezuela. And if you've been in places with hyperinflation, you feel it. And so, listen, I formed Galaxy out of my family office in 2018. I had invested a lot in the 2017 bubble. I got involved in not just Bitcoin, but the whole crypto space. And, I was a retired hedge fund manager. I spent my life as a macro hedge fund manager, first at Goldman Sachs and then at Fortress. And running a family office is a pretty nice gig.
You're not good at retiring.
People come to you, they pitch ideas. And so the thought of going back and building a business, I really contemplated. And I had 3 things I cared about. One is, are you going to work with young people? Because that's where the good energy is. 2 is, are you going to learn a lot? And 3 is, do you have something to add to the space? And I could check all those boxes. We started Galaxy as a bridge between institutions and the crypto community. Can we bridge over? And in some ways, maybe in the long run, we're just a bridge, a bridge in general, because the crypto community really is about peer-to-peer transactions. And in the long run, decentralized finance might put us out of business. But so that was our mission statement. And we have built now 5 different businesses. We have a direct investment business. We use our own money to invest in crypto. Matter of fact, Michael, you got a lot of credit for being the first kind of US corporate to put Bitcoin on your balance sheet. We had done that in Canada. We're a Canadian listed company, even though we're based in the US, in 2018. So, we've got Bitcoin and other coins on our balance sheet. We have over 90 venture investments in the space. So we've invested in exchanges, in custody, in protocols, in the decentralized finance revolution, all across the space. We have a sales and trading business. So we're big liquidity providers. We trade over $1 billion a day in tokens. And so we'll make deep markets to anyone who wants them. We have one of the biggest derivative businesses, selling structured products, doing derivatives for mining companies, other corporates who want to, limit their risk or do override strategies on their Bitcoin. We have an investment banking business, going to corporates and saying, mostly corporates in the space, the crypto company space, but not only, and providing expertise. So I told that group, you need to develop as much domain expertise in each of these verticals as possible so we have something to add. And we have an asset management product. So we have the only Mercer rated Bitcoin fund. We have created the Bloomberg Galaxy Crypto Index, which was supposed to be, and I think will be, the S&P 500 of the space. Bloomberg's been a great partner. We're launching an Ether fund right now. And we have a $300 million fund that invests in the virtual space. We call it Galaxy Interactive. And so NFTs, the virtual world, digital world. My mission statement really for the guys is, we're disruptors, right? It's systems change. And, I thought a lot about when Michael first bought, for MicroStrategy, is Bitcoin a smart investment for corporate treasuries? And my initial instinct was hesitation a little bit because, corporate cash is a short duration asset in general, or it can be, and Bitcoin's a long duration asset. Then I started thinking of a couple things. The macro backdrop right now, to some degree, makes it imperative that with some of your cash, you want to diversify. I just think Bitcoin is going to go a lot higher. So there's a bet to it, right? There's a speculative side to it. But I thought the much more important story, and I'm not sure if people have hit on this, is it's sending a really important signal to a part of America and a part of the world that cares a lot about this, right? So if you saw what happened with GameStop recently, where the horde got so frustrated with the center, right? We almost had a revolution in financial markets that was reminiscent of the revolution we almost saw at the Capitol with the alt-right guys, kind of, just that frustration. And so you'd be tone deaf as a corporation or as a person not to understand that there is this frustration out there. And Bitcoin and crypto is the currency of choice of millennials and Gen Z. Period, end of story. It is the currency, the social currency of the internet. And so it sends an amazingly powerful message, both for stock price appreciation and to your customers, hey, that you care about them, that you're listening to them. And so kind of my broad advice in general to corporates is, hey, if you can take Bitcoin or another crypto as a payment system, right? You can sell your hamburgers or your nice suits or your glasses, right? If that can be part of your payment process, great, because you're listening to people, they want it, it's coming. If that's not your biz, even putting some of it on your balance sheet sends that very powerful message. It's been de-risked in lots of ways. It was a lot riskier to buy when I bought it at $90 or even at $1,000 or $10,000 than it is to buy up here at $35,000. And I'm not guaranteeing the price goes straight up. It could go back down to 27,000 and go back up. There'll be volatility, right? We're trading at a 90 vol asset right now. But it's de-risked in a lot of different ways, right? There are amazing custody solutions. Back when we first bought it, you thought, Jesus, what if I lose my key? That doesn't exist anymore. And I'm sure Michael yesterday took you through how he's custodied his stuff, but there are plenty of great custody providers. And so there's also this kind of reputational risk. Like when Paul Tudor Jones bought it for hedge funds and Stan Druckenmiller bought it in his hedge fund, Bill Miller, you have these legendary investors, the career risk of looking dopey went away, right? When we have 3 of the biggest insurance companies now buying Bitcoin for their general account, that needs Fed approval, it needs insurance regulator approval. And so the next insurance company isn't taking career risk. He's taking some market risk, but it's very different than career risk. And so when I used to talk about Bitcoin, I had a sign, I'd rather look stupid than be stupid, but everyone thought I was stupid. Oh my God, or it was a little wacky. Now people don't. now my phone rings off the hook and people want to understand it. And
Sorry.
I'm
So if the companies are excited about Bitcoin and they decided they want to buy into it, and what does Galaxy Digital offer in terms of products and services for corporations that have gotten over that hurdle?
Sure, great. So first and foremost, I think we offer a sales force and a firm that understands the space as well as anybody, if not better. And so we want to educate, people in both how to buy it and what the whole ecosystem is. We have a trading desk that's got deep liquidity, and so we can white glove people buying Bitcoin and storing it. We have a suite of custodians that we use, from Fidelity to Bakkt to BitGo. We have a derivative desk that is creative, so creative solutions. Some people want yield on their Bitcoin. Some people are willing to give up some of the upside to have downside protected. And so we'll write derivatives in structured note form or in outright derivative form. Some people want to put it in a fund. We have the only Mercer rated fund. And so we really want to work with the treasurer or the CFO of each individual client and figure out what they need. We have an investment banking side that can come in and, if they want to think about, Jesus, do I want to expand my business into something that looks more crypto?
So they can buy the underlying Bitcoin, they can buy a derivative, they can buy in the fund. Do you offer custody if they buy Bitcoin for you? Do they custody it with you, or they move it to another custodian?
We custody it at either Fidelity, Bakkt, or BitGo.
Okay.
And we made this bet a while ago that in most assets in the world, people don't custody where they buy, right? You want to separate custodian from trading. And so it's interesting in crypto, that isn't necessarily the case with lots of people. So it's kind of, a mixed bag on how people think about it.
Okay. Can you describe your customer base, especially like any kind of corporations or like kind of clients?
Yeah, listen, we started off like most with high net worth individuals. We have a bunch of hedge funds that trade with us. We have pension, we're growing a pension fund business, an endowment business, and a few corporates. The corporate thing is just starting in lots of ways. I think it's going to be one of the big growth businesses for all of the crypto space this year and next year. We literally are hiring people. We've just hired 5 salesmen in the last 2 weeks. Gives you some sense of the demand that we're seeing and the opportunity that we see.
Can you say something about where you're licensed and what jurisdictions that you're doing business in?
Sure. We have offices, first of all, in New York, Chicago, London, Hong Kong, Tokyo. That's it. We're FINRA regulated. We're SEC regulated. Right. We're a listed company. We're about a $3 billion or $2.8 billion market cap company. We've got a balance sheet over $1 billion. And so we're well capitalized. We trade on the Canadian stock market. And listen, we're a little, when I talked about being this bridge between the institutional world and the crypto world, we wear suits most days and hoodies on Sundays. Right? The crypto world, in lots of ways, reminds me of when Uber got started, right? You're able to smash a bunch of rules and break things. And we didn't have that luxury. We pretty much play straight down the middle. I used to have a sign that says, "We're too rich to go to jail." And even Gary Gensler, the new head of the SEC, he was really interesting. And he taught a class on blockchain at MIT, and I taught one of his lectures, or gave one of his lectures. And he said, when you regulate, you let small companies experiment and play in the gray zone, but you don't let big companies play in that. And so we started off as a public company, and therefore we've never played in the gray zone. And so we're pretty buttoned up in terms of, our processes around security, KYC, and all the rest.
Okay. So what's the typical customer journey for a corporation that does business with you?
It's first for a corporation to think about, what their purpose, what their mission is with their corporate treasury, right? Like if it literally is a short duration asset that turns over all the time, what percentage can you afford that you know is going to be there to take a bet on, right? Now, you could flip it and just say, what percentage can you afford to lose? But listen, Bitcoin is a great alternative to fiat currency, and it's a great hedge versus the debasement of currency. There's no guarantee that, you know, we're going to become Venezuela. Quite frankly, I pray every night that we don't become Venezuela. It's just the possibility of that happening is growing. The probability is growing. And so the word hedge is probably the right word. Putting some Bitcoin in your portfolio is the right hedge. So it's really working with them to figure out what they want. We'll try to come up with as many creative solutions to their problems as we can. You know, the onboarding process is really quick, right? It's easy for corporates because most corporates are used to, you know, having documentation and you know, going right through the know your customer, you know, process. And then it's, you know, deciding to trade. We you know, we'll give, you know, people credit for a few days if they want to buy Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is instant settlement in general. That doesn't necessarily work for most new people. And so, you know, we'll extend credit for a day, 2 days, a week, depending on, you know, what's needed for the individual customer.
Okay. So what's your outlook for the Bitcoin marketplace for the next 1, 2, 3 years?
Yeah, listen, I think we've hit a tipping point in this network effect I talked about. And my base case is, you know, if I look at Bitcoin as a percentage of gold, I think Bitcoin is going to be digital gold. I know a lot of people disagree with me. They'll think, no, it's going to be money. It's going to be the blockchain of all blockchains. I just don't think so. I think it's got a beautiful lane as a store of value. It was perfectly designed as a store of value. And so I think of it as what percentage of market cap is gold. We're about 6% of gold market cap. My sense is by the end of the year, we are easily 10. So that gets you to Bitcoin 55, 60,000. I know as soon as we get to 10, we're going to say, well, why 10? Why not 20? And when we get to 20, we're going to be 50, and then we're going to be 100. And so I would be, you know, 60,000 the end of this year, and I'm 500,000 probably by 2024, 2025. You know, I was born in the year of the dragon in 1964, and 2024 is the next year of the dragon. So I said, we get to 500,000 by then, I'm going to get a dragon tattoo. But you know, I'm kind of kidding, but I'm not. I think you're going to see this, and just like it used to be crazy and now it's not. Why is 10% of gold a target and not all of gold? And so it doesn't happen overnight. It happens with more and more education, with more and more seminars like this, with more and more communities buying into the idea.
Okay, so we've got every corporation watching this right now. They're thinking about integrating Bitcoin either onto their balance sheet or into their P&L in some fashion. What kind of advice would you offer them based on your experience?
Listen, you know, there's a little bit of a crawl, walk, run process. You know, if you're making cars, I would certainly allow people to try to transact in crypto because it's a great marketing angle, and you know, you can convert that crypto into dollars or dollars into crypto pretty easily, almost flawlessly, or seamlessly, I should say. But I would probably tell them, you know, and it's a little bit different public and private. You know, public, you really got to think through what's the messaging around this. I think the messaging to me would be really clear. It's, we're listening to you. We hear you, right? We're part of this generation. We're part of this movement, right? The cryptocurrency movement, the blockchain revolution is a revolution. It is about people saying, I want a different system, right? I'm sick of the system that exists. I'm sick of the institutions that are rent takers that are constantly kind of getting one up on me. And so participating in this crypto revolution I think it's an easy thing to message.
I mean, it's like the revolution in economic empowerment, maybe something interesting. You've got a view as a venture capitalist, right? You're involved in a bunch of crypto ventures. That's interesting because the other companies that have spoken at this conference didn't have that such a strong interest. So I'm wondering, do you see any particular strategies that companies are pursuing right now to differentiate their offerings via Bitcoin? Where's this crypto industry going?
Well, I mean, you look at Square, right? What they did just by, what Jack Dorsey's done, right? Brilliant, right? You look what PayPal did. I mean, PayPal, 330 million customers, right? They're in essence the largest bank by customers. And they sent a really strong message. Every single bank got scared. I got calls from every one of those banks that next week.
Really?
Can you come talk to us? Because we're going to move from people having bank accounts to people having wallets on their phone. Right? Facebook is going to come screaming into this business real quick with the Diem coin. Diem is going to be a dollar-based stable coin, and they're going to have the Novi wallet. And so I think the big financial firms are trying to scramble. I don't think they'll move fast enough, to be fair. I think tech guys are much better at biting off their arm to grow a new arm. But so in payments, you're going to see a wild fight over who wins the payment game. All of that is good for the Bitcoin ecosystem because it's built on the same rails and the same ideology. Even if it's a dollar-based stable coin, that wallet is going to allow you to buy Bitcoin in it. And so, Bitcoin's got a pretty narrow mission statement, right? Which is give me a hedge against the debasement of currency. And so the easier access we have to that. And so for corporations figuring out how crypto works, listen, we're, looking really closely at the NFT market, right? So you're seeing collectibles switch from physical collectibles to digital collectibles overnight. There's a company called NBA Top Shop that 3 weeks ago no one had heard of, and now everyone's talking about. There was a LeBron James card that you bought for $9 that traded for $71,000. And so this shift generationally for living on the internet to digital world is happening in light speed. And I think one of the things our company Galaxy can do for companies is help educate them on that, right? We have the best guys around kind of the digital world. And every company needs to be thinking not just how blockchain affects us, but how this transition from a physical world to a digital world is going to affect them. So and it's happening at light speed.
So that's a unique lead into my next question, which is, how do you compare your firm to all the other vendors in the space?
So there's a lot of firms that are Bitcoin maximalists in some ways, or transactional firms. We're a firm about human capital. We literally want to be the smartest guys in the space. We think we have a lot of the smartest guys in the space. And I think what we're offering to clients is that knowledge. Not knowledge as an investor, that knowledge as a corporate, that knowledge as a participant. And so I'm not a maximalist. I actually love Bitcoin, but I think the big revolution is going to be built on probably the Ethereum blockchain. And the coolest stuff is going to be driverless banks and driverless insurance companies. What we call DeFi now is going to just be fintech, and it's going to be companies without employees. There's a lot of KYC to issues to address, but there's some great companies that are already working on solutions, right? We're going to be able to transact. There'll be a company on a blockchain that'll give you the blue check. I don't know who I'm transacting with, but I know he's been KYC'd. And so pretty certain the DeFi stuff is going to eat the lunch of traditional finance. And what's surprising me is how fast it's growing. Like I used to say, all of this is a sandbox, right? This is a venture sandbox. I'm now seeing guppies jump out of the sandbox and become frogs, right? There's a payment system in Korea called the Chai payment system that's built on the Terra blockchain that uses the Luna coin, and all of a sudden people's eyes start spinning. But it's starting to get more and more market share in payments in Korea. So that's like a real world application. So every business has to say, hey, what's coming in the future? And every investor has to say, hey, crypto used to be kind of a cool thing. Now in 3 years, I'm going to have to understand it so I understand what's going to get whacked in my old word portfolio.
So the future is coming faster than you think.
Much faster.
So My final question. So what are your plans for the future for your products and your company?
So we are, this idea of being the bridge between institutions and crypto was really painful for a couple of years because the institution just didn't come. And we just kept having meeting after meeting and education. And COVID really changed all that. COVID gave the macro stories such power, and it accelerated the digitalization of everything. And so now we can't grow fast enough. We're 120 employees. We will be 160 literally in 2 months. We opened a mining group, Bitcoin mining. We hired this woman, Amanda Fabiano from Fidelity, who is one of the world's experts at Bitcoin mining. And so that's an important piece of the Bitcoin ecosystem, right? Without mining, there is no Bitcoin. And so really to understand that, providing advice to miners, both in capital raising, in derivative hedging. We are growing our geographic footprint. We'll be hiring a bunch in both Asia and in Europe. And really, continuing to kind of, I think, educate our own internal human capital so we can be a good source of understanding of this space. The most exciting stuff, of course, is investing in all these new technologies, because I think that's where you end up getting the energy. Like, even if you're just selling Bitcoin, understanding what's happening gives you the energy to connect. And so I think it's really important to have a diverse business that, we're talking about building a 21st century bank in the 21st century. All of the banks that we're used to banking at were built 100 years ago on mindset of 100 years ago or 50 years ago with technology and legacy infrastructure. And so we're starting from scratch. And I think there's a huge advantage to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Look, Mike, thanks for joining us today. It's
awesome.
been wonderful.
Michael, thanks for doing this. I think, listen, really, you came onto the scene like you got my rookie of the year.
Okay, I'll
really
take
like
it.
a fire plug. So well appreciated.
I'll take it. You have a good one.
Take care.
You need better visualizations. Get Vitara charts. Just drop the plugin into MicroStrategy. It's that easy. It's that beautiful. It's that flexible. Vitara.